Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. So, we, as you can see, are playing as Serbia. Little Serbia. This is going to be an interesting run. As you can see, the Ottoman Empire looks the same, but the Austrian Empire looks pretty different. We've got Croatia, Slavonia here, Hungary, and Transylvania, all as subjects. And only these are Austria proper. So this is going to be interesting. Our goal is we're going to try and form we're going to try to form a Yugoslav empire. That's the idea. An empire where all South Slavic peoples can live together in peace. Is it going to work? I don't know. We'll find out. So, currently you have two states, Serbian East Serbia and Western Serbia. Are we holding all of Western Serbia? We're not. Serbian East Serbia, yeah. So Ottoman Empire is holding a chunk of both of these countries, both of these state regions. So that's going to be interesting. Before we get started, I'm going to get into a little bit of housekeeping about the channel. It seems like the algorithm likes longer videos, so I'm going to try something a little different, which is I'm still going to post the same amount of content, but the individual videos are going to be longer. So it's going to be about I'm going to shoot for a little bit more than half an hour per day of Victoria 3. I've also been doing about 15-ish minutes a day of Armored Recon. That's been fine. And we're going to see how that goes. So basically, we're kind of, in this episode, I've got a comical amount of water here on the table, and I'm sort of in no sleep till Brooklyn mode. I'm just going to record as long as I can, and that's how the episode lengths are going to be determined. And I'm going to, so if I get 2 hours in, there's going to be another episode in 4 days, etc., etc., etc. So that's going to be how we're going to try it for this run, and we're going to see how that goes, and I'm hoping it goes well. And if it doesn't go well, then them's the breaks. So, enough about the channel. Let's get into what's going on in Serbia in 1836. We've got two journal entries kicking over here. One's Serbia and Montenegro, the other is a Throne of Thorns. Serbia and Montenegro is pretty straightforward. The people of Montenegro have always seen themselves as Serbs, tragically separated from their brethren in Serbia by the tyrannical Ottoman Empire. If both states were free and shared a common border, they could unite as one great Serbian nation. So, this is basically going to happen. I think the way this is going to go is I'm going to snag all of Karadag here. I didn't look up any Turkish pronunciation for this video, so, we're going to do our best. But this is Montenegro, and this is Montenegro, the country. And then we're going to absorb Montenegro. I think that's how it's going to be. Montenegro is a really interesting run, but really difficult, it seems like. And I'm not yet familiar enough with the current patch to be able to do that, because I've only just started. Today's the day the patch drops. Tomorrow for y'all, or the day after. This is going to drop on the 25th. Yeah, I think I got one more episode of the France run posting tomorrow, and then I'm going to post this on the 25th. So yeah, so I'm recording this on the 23rd, which is the first day of the patch. So this is my first time playing the National Awakening DLC. So, this will complete if any neighboring state belongs to Serbia. Montenegro is not a subject of another nation. Serbia is not a subject of another nation. If completed, Montenegro and Serbia will have an opportunity to unite into a single nation. We will have a choice of which nation's laws and leaders to adopt. We'll fail if we are not the subject of another nation and we are at war with Montenegro. If failed, a negative event diplomatic catalyst is triggered between Montenegro and Serbia, and a negative event diplomatic catalyst is triggered with Montenegro. I'm not sure if there's a distinction between those two things, but them's the breaks. So, that's Serbia and Montenegro. If I can get over here, I can eat Montenegro. Or if Montenegro gets all of Montenegro, then if I can get Ottoman Western Serbia, then I can get that. So that'll be nice. The other is a Throne of Thorns. The people are divided between the Karađorđević and the Obrenović dynasties. According to our informers, the House of Karađorđević, a family whose founder was once known as a hero of the Serbian people, are plotting to dethrone the House of Obrenović. Karađorđević liberated Serbian provinces from the tyranny of renegade Janissaries. Those are Christian warriors serving the Ottoman Emperor. and sparked the light of freedom at the dawn of the century. However, it was also he who fled the field of battle when the situation was dire. The House of Obrenović stepped up to carry the banner since then. In time, the plotters will surely attempt to incite the populace to achieve their mischievous goals and dethrone the Obrenović. If dynastic loyalty reaches 0%, our ruler and their dynasty will be overthrown and replaced by a member of the House of Karađorđević. So this will complete if the dynastic loyalty bar here has reached 100%. It triggers up an event called Here to Stay. Possible event effects. No more feud. Extra bureaucracy, extra authority, extra interest group approval, extra legitimacy, and reduced enactment time. And I don't know how long that lasts. Probably 5 years. Could be as many as 20. We'll see. Could be as many as 50. Could be the whole game. Who knows? Maybe the House of Obrenović will reign supreme over all Southern Europe with all their super bonuses. We'll see. We'll dethrone the sitting dynasty if dynastic loyalty has reached 0%. Triggers an event called the Reckoning. Possible events, dynastic changeover, will be a bunch of penalties. Reduced bureaucracy, reduced authority, interest groups mad, reduced legitimacy, increased enactment time. And again, I don't know for how long. I'm going to mouse over dynastic loyalty here, and this is going to show us what's going to affect this bar. Dynastic loyalty represents the Serbian people's support for keeping the ruling dynasty on the throne, as opposed to their rivals. The ruling dynasty must gain enough support to prevent the opposition from voicing a claim. Failing to do so will cause them to lose the throne and stagnate national growth. The following conditions will advance dynastic loyalty: high ruler popularity, low popularity of rival claimants, high legitimacy, high standard of living, fraction of loyalists, non-marginalized interest groups in opposition above 4 approval by clout. Non-marginalized interest groups in opposition above 4 approval by clout. Okay, so if our opposition interest groups are happy, has censorship or outlawed dissent enacted, which we do, not a subject, each major or great power supporting our independence, events or other choices. Following will deplete dynastic loyalty, the reverse of all of those. Low ruler popularity, high popularity of rival claimants, low legitimacy, low standard of living, fraction of radicals, non-marginalized interest groups in opposition below 4 approval by clout, negative authority, negative bureaucracy, positive relations with overlord, events, and other choices. So we're going to have a lot to do here to keep our dynastic legitimacy up. So, we also have two things we can do. We can slander the rival dynasty as long as we've got paper mills. That's got a 4-year cooldown. It triggers an event called Slander Pamphlets. It costs some cash or authority for 2 years. And it reduces the popularity of Alexander Karađorđević, who is the rival, the dynastic rival. He's a general. I think he's the general of our armed forces. Yeah, here we go. Okay, interesting. He's not particularly popular, so that should be fine. Okay, so let's start. Let's take a look around at where we are with tech next. Technology, we've got all the tier 1s in production. Tier 2s, we've got a few. We've got intensive agriculture. Okay, that's not bad. This isn't bad at all. We've got the Atmo pump engine. We've got fractional distillation. We don't have mechanical tools or the water tube boiler. It'd be nice to have those things, but not critical. Military. We got all the tier 1s. We got percussion cap and general staff. All right, so we have the ability to field a modern army. Thank goodness. That's really good. Because we're going to need that. We don't have... Yeah, we got a lot of things. We got power of the purse. We don't have any boats, but we know how to use them. I don't have a navy, but I know how to use a navy. So that's a plus. Okay, so we're actually doing quite well technologically. In terms of society tech, we've got most of the tier 1s. We don't have stonk exchange. No! Or banking. But we got all the other tier 1s. Okay, so it'll be a bit for tier 1. So for my military... Oh, no, I don't... No, I'm wrong. I'm misreading this. I'm misreading this real bad. We're not... I've completely misunderstood. Okay, so this is just the new visual design. I don't have any of these. These are available to research text, but I don't have any of them. Oh, that's a lot worse. That's a lot worse. Okay, so, well, we're going to start the same place I always start, which is with Napoleonic Warfare. Oh my gosh, and I'm going to need to knock out Paddle Steamer. How could you do this to me? And I don't have intensive agriculture either. Oh, bollocks. All right. So how do I want to do this? I need to knock out paddle steamers so that I can not get the penalty, and then I can snag general staff. After that, gosh, I really am gonna need intensive agriculture. I should have the lathe finished spreading by then. So after that, we'll do the Atmo pump engine, and then we'll finish out everything else in Tier 1 and make a blitz for nationalism. Because we're going to need nationalism. This is the National Awakening DLC, so there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on with that. Politics. Our leader is Miloš Obrenović. His heir is Milan Obrenović. We're decently legitimate. Got the landowners in power. That's not a shocker. Laws, we are an oligarchic monarchy. Okay, that's pretty good. We got national supremacy, and that we're going to want to stay at national supremacy because that's going to keep the national consciousness of the Serbian culture high, and that's something we desperately need. Church and state, we're at freedom of conscience. Bureaucracy, we're at appointed. Army model, we got peasant levies, so that's not ideal. We'll need to deal with that in the long term. No internal security, but we are at agrarianism, which is not bad for the early game. It's much better than being at traditionalism. Mercantilism is good. Per capita taxation is good. Tenant farmers is good. You have one... No, we don't want to go to serfdom. Certainly don't desire serfdom. No police. I could go to dedicated right away. The rural folk would be big mad, but they'll have to deal with that. Institutions, I have none, but the cost is low. So, you know, I think getting policing is going to be the first step here. Everything else is basically your starting situation. Before we get into no police, though, I'm going to talk about our new law group in the current DLC, labor associations. There's one other thing I'll talk about before this, but before we get there. But let's talk about labor associations first. So we got 5 options here. Guild system, combination acts, anti-strike laws, right to associate, and corporatized unions. So, guild system, a system in which eligibility for employment within certain fields is dependent upon membership of a formalized craft or merchant guild. So, this is the kind of the old school style labor organization system that's kind of a holdover from the Middle Ages. It reduces qualifications, but it adds minimum worker-owned building levels in a lot of different types of industries, including manufacturing, mines, extraction, power plants, infrastructure that's not state-owned, and arts buildings, and it increases the political strength of shopkeepers. None of these others provide a qualifications penalty. Combination acts is reduced trade unions' political strength, extra radicals from political movements by 25%, so pretty significant increase. Reduced labor movement pop attraction, but increased socialist, anarchist, and communist pop attraction by 10%. The trade unions will be more likely to generate characters with radical ideologies, and radical, in this context, means communist, vanguardist, anarchist, nihilist, and radical. One interest group supports this law, the industrialists. Anti-strike laws is the next, so you're going to notice right away, anti-strike laws is a little bit less of, sorry. I'm going all over the place here. Combination acts is, the meaning of this is the formation of labor associations of any kind is prohibited. Anti-strike laws means whilst the formation of labor associations is permitted, strikes and certain forms of collective bargaining are prohibited. So, anti-strike laws is a less extreme version of combination acts. So while the increase to radicals from political movements and decrease to trade union strength is 25% for combination acts, and anti-strike laws, it's only 10%. It's just a less extreme version of that. The modifiers for labor movement, socialist, anarchist, and communist pop movement pop attractions, similarly, they're 10% for combination acts, 5% for anti-strike laws. Okay? So the anti-strike laws are going to radicalize people, but make the trade unions weaker. The combination acts are going to do the same, but more so. Over here, we've got right to associate, plus 10% trade unions' political strength, minus 10% radicals from political movements, plus 10% labor movement pop attraction. So this is, the right to associate gives you the strongest labor movement, and the trade unions will be less likely to generate characters with radical ideologies. So that's interesting. So combination acts is more likely to generate characters with radical ideologies. Anti-strike laws is no modifier to that. Right to associate is less likely. So right to associate description, no special restrictions are placed upon the formation and activity of labor unions, of labor associations. Finally, at the bottom here, we've got corporatized unions. So these ones are a little bit of a spectrum here. But at the bottom here, we've got corporatized unions. Description of this is labor associations are placed under the control of the state through either mandatory amalgamation into a single national union or the incorporation of existing associations into state functions. This we can't do until we've invented corporatism. Its effects are increased radicals and loyalists from standard of living changes. So half the rad bonus, but half the rad penalty. And then no modifier to the strength of the trade unions. Reduced socialist, anarchist, and communist movement pop attraction. And the trade unions will be more likely to generate corporatist characters. And remember, corporatist is... They like corporate state and are against council republic. They like public and religious schools. They like regulatory bodies. They like wage subsidies. And they like guild system and anti-strike laws. Interesting. They're like weird moderates on labor associations. That's curious. But they really like corporatized unions. So that's quite curious. That's interesting. So the corporatized union is like a late game thing you can do to kind of depower the trade unions, I guess. That's how I'm reading that. All right. So from here, the other thing I want to get into is the way citizenship works now. We're seeing a few more changes to citizenship. Number one, citizenship laws now affect separatism, strength, and resistance. This means that basically the less liberal your citizenship, the stronger your separatist movements. And that's separatism against your own government by marginalized ethnic groups, as well as the separatism of your ethnic group against governments which marginalize them. So that's interesting. So you'll see as we go down from national supremacy to racial segregation, there is not a modifier, and then cultural exclusion there's a reduction. Wait, hold on. Yes. Increased separatism strength, reduced separatism, plus 25% support separatism strength. Oh, no, these are not defaults. These are things you can do diplomatically. This is like a soft version of the support separatists like espionage thing from Europa Universalis 4. I'm consolidating waters with my other hand, for those of you wondering what that sound is, if you can hear it. Because I'm going to need a lot of water for this this long play session we're going to have here. As you can see, the cultural thing has grown a little bit more complicated. There's now such a thing as a language trait and a language trait group. So that's interesting, and we're going to need to deal with that. I probably won't get into too much of that, but we'll deal with it later. The big one is the introduction of the subjecthood citizenship law. Description of this: the state defines its people foremostly as subjects of a sovereign, making little effort to encourage any official nationality. Cultures are largely left to their own devices within their own communities. Plus 100 authority, minus 50% support separatism strength, minus 50% support separatism resistance. So you can't really support separatism in other countries. Reduced assimilation and acceptance from primary culture is only 50. 20 from heritage trait, 15 from heritage trait group, 20 from language trait, 15 from language trait group, but then 30 from homeland. Do any of these others give you acceptance from homeland? They don't. Interesting. So what this means is that subjecthood is what you want if you want to control a lot of territory, including a lot of people who are not part of your primary culture. So that's probably where the Austrians are going to start. So that's interesting. And then multiculturalism has not really changed. It has changed a little bit. Interesting. So, that's that stuff. Let's get ready to play here. I noticed that the Slander Rival Dynasty event up here requires us to have some paper mills, so I think that's going to maybe be a priority. But we're going to see how things go. First of all, let's talk about budget. Government wages. We have no ability to increase or decrease government wages because I don't have any government buildings. Please tell me both of my territories are incorporated. They are. They are indeed. Our capital is in Western Serbia. Are we short taxation capacity? We're not. We've got plenty of taxation capacity, so let's enact some taxes. Wow, I can't make any money through taxation. Okay. Well, this is gonna be a challenging run, my nerds. Let's do our usual services. We'll hit liquor. We'll hit transportation. We'll hit meat. We'll hit tea. And we'll hit tobacco. That's enough for now. These are so low in overall effect, I might simply not do them. Actually, I think it's actually going to be more effective for me to spend my authority on decrees. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take a look at our economy. It's not huge. We got some wheat farms, some livestock ranches, and some vineyards. So that's something we're going to need to deal with. We got our base 10 construction capacity for no construction sectors. Whew. So let's get building. We're definitely going to need iron mines. It's going to take 38 weeks. This is going to be a slow run in the beginning, friends. I must say. Are we not paying for construction at all? It can't be right. Let's tick over a week and see what happens. I am going to start enacting. Before we do this, let's see if I can get the government slightly more legitimate. I sure can. So we'll put the armed forces into the government. We will snag... Eventually, we'll snag professional army. Before we do that, let's get dedicated police forces. This should not improve the problem at all. Let's tick us over until the next week. There's the Throne of Thorns event. Hungary is damaging relations. Oh yeah, I should do diplomacy stuff, huh? We got Lathe, Napoleonic Warfare, and banking spreading. That's not bad. Austria? Let's be better friends. Ottoman Empire. Let's be worse friends. Oh, sorry. When we were going over the starting situation, I neglected to mention we are a subject of the Ottoman Empire. So, we're going to need to deal with this. Now, I could request control of my own market. I'm not going to do that. Let's go ahead and improve relations with Great Britain. We'll improve relations. I need a rival. I need a rival, and I need a rival bad. Someone who can't get to me. Diplomatic actions. Rivalry. Greece, Ionian Islands, 2 Sicilies. Greece. The old so-and-so. Let's fight. Do I want better relations with my northern neighbors? I don't think so. I think these are all subjects of the Ottoman Empire. Yeah. They're crown lands. Alright. Let's improve relations with France. And that's... And we'll do Russia as well. Russia is a natural ally. Notifications, we can support more declared interests. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, interesting. So we're landlocked, so we only have interests in areas that are really close to us. That's curious. Alright, and here's the Throne of Thorns event. The scale of power shifts between the Karađorđević and the ruling Obrenović families. Allegiances have been promised left and right without much thought. Who is the rightful ruler of Serbia? Indubitably, my prince, our support is to you. As we were bound by your hallowed speech under the oak tree for revolution, we shall stand by you once again, for the glory of Serbia. Bootlicker as he was, his confidence was effortless. The prince wondered how he could manage it. His unreliable nature had been public information for some time now. It seemed that he was the only person in the room who believed in his own credibility. The price of loyalty is ever-changing. Adds the Throne of Thorns to the Journal of Serbia, which we've already got. So, current monthly progress is going up from legitimacy and censorship or outlawed dissent. So let's keep things going that way. Cash flow is good. Would it be crazy if I built myself a construction sector right away? I think maybe the answer to that is yes. I think I'm going to do it. Have I got any wood production in Western Serbia? I don't, but I have the capacity for wood production. And remember, we're in the Ottoman market, so I don't have control over much of this, but I'll be able to rely on them for supplies for the time being. So let's actually throw this construction sector at the top of the queue. That's going to take 10 weeks. Oh, heck. Oh, right. Before we do that, decrees. Let's do road maintenance. Just a little bit of extra construction speed. From social mobility, that's education, access, and qualifications. Encourage manufacturing industry. Let's encourage industries. Do we have any resource industries over here? Let's do a quick check of what's where. Western Serbia has only agriculture. Eastern Serbia has nothing. They have coal mines, but no industry. So we'll do an encourage agriculture industry in Western Serbia to make those more effective. Emergency relief, that's not going to be useful. Encourage manufacturing industry, I don't have any manufacturing industries. I will want to start encouraging resource industries soon, but for now, let's get her going. Increase construction efficiency. Yes, there we go. 17%. Oh, because we have some excess bureaucracy as well. Well, that's nice. We'll get that going. Yeah, doing good. Wallachia is improving relations. Very good. Love to see it. Iron on the Ottoman Empire is expensive. Tools are expensive. Well, them's the breaks. I'm rapidly increasing my cash reserve because my reserve limit is 10,000. Ottoman Empire is improving relations. You bastards! No! No! Ah, Christ. So how do I get my liberty desire up? I need more prestige, which is going to require additional armed forces. Okay, so that's going to be a process. Renegade Hajduks. Irregular troops under the command of Alexander Karageorgievich have been harassing Sunni and Jewish neighborhoods. You know how they are, my prince. They used to enjoy raiding Ottoman trade caravans and aristocrats, but all they have left now are peasants without anyone to protect them. The advisor shooed the messenger away with a swift gesture before proceeding. The Karageorge was one of them during the years of rebellion. Now his son is trying to keep his father's friends happy. Let them be, or they will turn to their own for loot. Extra armed forces approval, reduced standard of living modifier for Sunni and Jewish pops in Serbia, increased 100% of Sunni and Jewish pops become radical. Or this cannot continue, reduced armed forces approval, -1 standard of living for Serbia. This will hasten our dynastic loyalty process. So, armed forces are currently pretty happy. They're going to stay happy. Reduced standard of living is not great, but them's the breaks. I'm going to hit they cannot continue, and hopefully our going to professional army will improve things. Okay, so let's take a quick look at where the Throne of Thorns is now. Okay, so yes, plus 0.4 from stopping Hajduk lootings. Much less from legitimacy, which has fallen to legitimate. If I pulled the Orthodox Church into government, I could get a little bit more legitimacy. Is that the right call? I think it might be. Before we do this, do they care about the whole army model thing? They don't. So, let's bring them in. That's the power of oligarchy. Alright, now we're getting a lot of legitimacy. Have extra from legitimacy. So yeah, so we're making good progress. I could launch a campaign. I don't necessarily want to do that. I built my construction sector. And it's currently hiring. So we're going to see how that impacts our finances. Okay. So this construction sector is increasing government expenses. It's also increasing the capacity of my state to construct stuff pretty significantly. Do I have any cash in the investment pool right now? I'm getting 400 a day. Or 400 a week. All right. Nice. All investments are multiplied by about 3 due to Serb GDP of 164,000. Interesting. Lovely. All right, and now we are spending construction pool. Other notifications, shortage of iron. We're building an iron mine. Them's the breaks. Shortage of tools. Let's go ahead and build ourselves a tooling factory. This is just going to be necessary as things go by. Popular playwright endorses reform. In the midst of the debate surrounding dedicated police force, one of the country's leading playwrights, strongly associated with the armed forces, has staged a widely acclaimed play whose politically laden theme makes no secret of the author's desire for the law to be passed. The man's viewpoints may be somewhat partisan, but sir, you cannot argue with his prose. Dedicated police forces will be on everyone's lips now. Extra enactment chance. This sure puts the armed forces in a good light. Stronger armed forces. Or let's ensure the play gets a wider international audience. 5% prestige. Well, percent prestige is not what I need right now. But, so let's go with just the enactment chance. Do we have a change up? I feel like our chance was higher before. Maybe not. Perhaps not. I'm irritating the rural folk. But them's the breaks. Oh my gosh. I'm like trying to scroll down here and it's like, no, this is all there is. Let's hit movements. Do we have any movements? We've got a peasant movement. We've got a Yugoslav national movement, which is pretty based. This is eventually going to require us to do things. Let's go ahead and bolster this movement. Obstinance. Because this movement is eventually going to allow us to do a lot of things that we want to do. It is also potentially going to lead to increased fervor in our culture, which I think is what we want to try to do. We're almost done with our iron mine. After that, we'll build a logging camp. And then we'll start working on tools, and that'll allow us to do things. The petite bourgeoisie are now influential. That's interesting. Rousing speech captivates the public. This afternoon, Milosav Zdravkovic Resavak, leader of the armed forces, Milosav Zdravkovic Resavak, leader of the armed forces, delivered a fiery speech advocating for the enactment of dedicated police force. Making an appearance before the public in Belgrade's main square, Miloslav Zdravkovic Resavak's powerful rhetoric left even his most embittered political opponents impressed. Excerpts from the speech are already being circulated across Serbia, fanning the fires of an already roaring debate. This should ease the path to reform greatly, 15% enactment chance, or performances like this reflect well on Miloslav Zdravkovic Resavak and his cause. 10% enactment chance, but extra popularity for him and stronger armed forces. I'm going with the second one. An additional 10% popularity for him is good, and the armed forces being happier is good. I've really pissed off the rural folk. That's reduced text spread. That's pretty bad, but them's the breaks. Other stuff I need some paper mills. And after that, I'm going to need a skyscraper. No, just kidding. I mean, I am going to need a skyscraper eventually, but it's going to be far after that. The other thing I'm going to need is a university. Hopefully getting some extraction industry going here will increase my, will provide me with a little bit of extra taxation. Although I guess taxation is mostly being collected on an individual basis, but getting more pops paying taxes, getting some more pops with slightly higher income should be helpful. This is also going to give us a few more capitalists holding onto these mines, which will in turn increase the size of our investment pool. Armed forces petition government. Miloslav Zdravkovic Resovac, the ambitious leader of the armed forces, has approached the government with a plan to enact National Guard. A successful enactment is certain to contribute to his reputation as an effective politician. Couldn't you have asked for professional army, sir? The thing that we're going to do next? A word, please? The minister, halfway out the door, startled at the sound. A man stood in the hallway, bearing a leather-bound dossier. Resovac, he knew. His appearance was unmistakable. Yes, of course, he said. Should I? Resovac gave a nod and handed over the folder. At least 100 pages, judging by the weight. I'm asking to raise the first draft tomorrow, he said. I would be honored to have your support. We'll see what we can do. Armed forces will expect the government to pass National Guard in the next 5 years. Or, they must understand the present situation does not allow for this. Reduce legitimacy, salty armed forces. I'm going to gamble on this second one. My legitimacy is pretty good, but I can't afford a loss right now. I need to make a beeline for... Once dedicated police force is done, I need to make a beeline for professional army. A good vintage. The wine produced in Western Serbia has been lauded by sommeliers as outstanding. When people say that something ages like wine, they don't always make the distinction between wine and wine. So let me make that distinction. If you can get your hands on a bottle from Western Serbia, that bottle can be more than just a good time. It can be an investment. Make this an exclusive product for export, 5% prestige, or increase production to meet the booming demands, 35% building wine output. How profitable are my vineyards right now? They're not very. They're having a hard time hiring farmers. So, you know, I don't think increasing production is going to be useful. Well, no, because wine is not profitable. So we'll make this an exclusive product for export. Get a little bit extra prestige, and that'll be nice. Patriotic fervor has been deactivated, but it will be activated again in the future. So, how do we want to... Cash flow is still pretty not great. Law progressed to ascent, that's very good. I really could use some more money. I'm burning through my gold reserves right now. Investment pool is increasing in size, but they're not going to build anything until they're at like 100,000 or something like that. Because the investment pool needs to pay up front for buildings. I still think building this construction sector was the right call. Iron Mine is having a hard time hiring. And why are you having a hard time hiring? Because there's no tools. That's brutal, friends. That's really, really brutal. I can't provide the iron we need because I don't have the tools. And these logging camps are going to cost even more. Simple forestry is... I should be on simple forestry. Simple forestry means no tools input, right? Yeah, it really does. I would love to be at sawmills, but unfortunately I don't know that that's going to help. However, having a little bit of wood production in that state... Hey, they're building a wheat farm. Excellent. Having a little bit of production in this... of wood production in this state is going to make construction cheaper. And also, now that the private sector is using some of the construction pool, the rest of it going into this logging camp is going to be cheaper for the government. Advanced events, that's 71%. Alright, so, and we've now currently started on building those tooling workshops. Under agrarianism, we're at 50% private construction, yeah. And increased government dividends reinvestment, which is nice. And increased government dividends efficiency. That's curious. So that's pretty good. Honestly, I didn't realize clergymen even reinvested. So that's chill. I still need to keep my liberty desire high. Why does it keep going down? Because we're economically dependent. Okay, so to reduce economic dependency, we need to produce a bunch of our own stuff. If I wanted to go buck wild, I could request market control. Which would give me upward ticking liberty desire, but completely goof up my economy. Let's do it. The Ottoman Empire would not accept. That's okay. It'll increase our liberty desire, and that's good. All right, beautiful. So this is going up, which is good. New notifications, shortage of iron, shortage of tools. Yeah, them's the breaks. That's simply what there is. Come on, give me dedicated police force. Discord within the Orthodox Church, an influential faction within the Orthodox Church, has grown frustrated with their co-members' neutrality on the topic of dedicated police force. Themselves in favor of the law, they've now resolved to form a separate political faction intent on passing it. How can you all stand idly by and watch the world pass before your eyes? Have you no sense of honor, of duty to your fellow man? I say nay to such lack of ambition, and I dare say I am not alone in this. With their support, the bill shall pass, extra enacted chance, weaker Orthodox Church, or the armed forces extend an open hand to these mavericks, increase enactment chance by 10% instead of 15% with the other option, but the Orthodox Church gets much weaker and the armed forces get stronger. I'm going to go with that second one. Stronger armed forces is good for our overall build. I've got a little bit of influence to play with, so I'll start improving relations with Prussia. After that, we'll see if we can improve relations with the United States. I can't do a whole lot militarily at this time because I don't have much of a military. But if the Ottoman Empire decides to get scrappy and something, maybe I could have occasion to join a play against them. The Austrians often ally with the Ottomans, but they're not doing it this time. And obviously, Russia wants to fight the Ottomans. But if Russia fights the Ottomans, then there's a chance that that Britain comes in just to goof with the Russians. So, you know, there's a whole thing going on. Plead for aid. Dire news of Magyarization in Delvidek has reached us recently. That's this state. What's the... There's a different name for this state. Hold on. I know I got it somewhere. Society, diplomacy... Population. Where is it? Nation formation. It's Vojvodina. Vojvodina. Or Delvidek for me. Dire news of Magyarization in Vojvodina, Delvidek, has reached us recently. Certain Serbian villages await support for their brethren over the river. This is a valuable opportunity to bolster our stance against Alexander Karađorđević. The aide untied a string that tightened all envelopes together before opening the topmost to read aloud. To His Most Excellent Majesty, Miloš of House Obrenović, Prince of all honorable Serbs, may it please your greatness, I am humbly writing on behalf of our unworthy but loyal village to ask for a favor of return. As you might recall, yet not in actuality, but we were there during your revolutionary victory against the Ottomans with whatever we could send. Send them help to resist back, £200 in government expenses. This will hasten our dynastic loyalty progress. Or invite over to their real homeland and help them build. 10% of Serbians in Delvidek will move to western Serbia. Serbia gets evacuated Magyarized Serbs for 2 years. 600 government expenses, so significant government expenses. This will greatly hasten our dynastic loyalty process. I'm going to pick the second one. It's going to cost us a huge pile of cash, but that's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. I can always pause construction. It's not as if we're constructing that much anyway. That would truly be foolish. I would be really dumb to do that. But you know. Obviously, the Ottoman Empire is completely mismanaging the economy of the Ottoman market, and that's to be expected. But you know, in a year and a half, I'll have my own tooling workshops, and then I can not be dependent on the Ottomans for iron, and then for tools, and then I can mine my own iron and sell to the Ottomans, and that'll be nice. We now have dedicated police force. Excellent. It's going to cost us a little bit of bureaucracy. I'm going to go all the way up to the second level right away. And then we'll get working on ungoofing our military. This is going to make the landowners a little salty, but it's going to make the rural folk happier. It's going to make the armed forces happier. The armed forces would actually prefer a national militia to the current setup, which is interesting. Hold on. Is that something new? Armed Forces Jingoist. Oppose peasant levies, neutral towards national militia, endorse professional army, endorse mass conscription. Interesting. So their default is Jingoist. Okay, so they prefer professional army all told, but a national militia they'd be fine with. Let me see. National militia is reduce morale loss, leverage resistance, reduce political strength of officers. Professional army is increased political strength of officers. 10% reduce morale loss versus 5%. I think national militia is better for our overall build, although that does make the armed forces weaker, which I don't want. Yeah, because this maximum battalion mobilization is kind of critical. Because I can't afford to maintain much of a standing army. So we're going to actually go for national militia. That's going to make the rural folk a lot happier, and this is going to help out with our progress. Let me see here. So evacuating Magyarized Serbs has actually provided us with a huge ticking increase, which is good, because standard of living is kind of going down. So this is very good for us overall. Unfortunately, it's costing the government a pile of cash, but them's the breaks. Let me see. Maybe I'll be able to reach some kind of investment deal. I would love to have an investment deal with another country. Perhaps Russia. Perhaps I could get some Russian investment. This might be a mistake long term, but in the short term, it would be critical for increasing the size of my economy. Let's also cut a consumption tax. I can't cut that many consumption taxes. Let me see. I'm going to halt my support of the Serb national movement for the moment. And in what... Hold on. $200 authority. Okay, so I do have the authority. Okay. I thought there was something going on there. Alright. Then let's encourage resource industry. Oop. I was already doing it. Was I not encouraging agricultural industry? Am I a stoop? Perhaps I have experienced some stupidity. But that's okay. Road maintenance encourage. Oh, because I couldn't, because I was encouraging agricultural industry. That's what happened. That's what happened. Alright. I got it. I got it, friends. I got it sorted out. A lot of it failed. Now we're down to 6%. What happened? Who's against? Nobody. Okay, well, hopefully I don't just keep getting clobbered by debate events. We're building livestock ranches in western Serbia. There's Napoleonic warfare. That's wonderful. Alright. Let's get our artillery upgraded. Now that we're producing our own iron, let's get our hussars upgraded as well. There we go. So from here, in terms of tech, we're going for paddle steamer. That's been spreading to us for a little bit, so it's... Oh boy, tech spread is really, really rough, friends. Oh, God. Oh, it's real bad. It's real bad. Alright, sorry, I'm done agonizing. Mining accident. Okay. A mine in western Serbia has collapsed, trapping miners in the dark shafts below. The scale of the accident has made the tragedy a story across western Serbia and the nation. They dug me out, but left my friend behind. That was all the foreman was able to get out of the wretched boy. Sooty rags clung to him like wispy strands of a torn funeral jacket. Whether he held back his tears for fear of a beating or to keep strong, the foreman did not know. He was spent for the day. The foreman hoped the manager had a mind for mercy. This is a small price to pay for the march of industry. Lower stratum pops become more radical, but industrialists get stronger and happier. This outrageous abuse of the common man cannot stand. Upper stratum pops become more radical, trade unions become stronger and happier. Or these mines are a blight upon man and countryside alike. Middle stratum pops become more radical. Rural folk get stronger and happier. I'm going to go with the first one. The It's the early game, and I want to make the industrialists as strong as I can. Relation improvement with the United Kingdom and France is going alright. Sorry, with Great Britain. I've been playing a lot of Hearts of Iron 4, as you might have guessed. Unfortunately, I've got a lot of radicals from that. Hey, they fixed the radical and loyalist thingy. That's good. Lobbyist lectures in Belgrade. A man employed by a powerful member of the Serb-Austrian Society is delivering lectures and pamphlets addressed to targeted constituencies in Belgrade. One lawmaker writes to a fellow politician, "Each day he finds me. I know not how. I'm quite disturbed. What are his aims? That hired emissary of the Serb-Austrian Society haunts the borders of the Serbian embassy, much like the ghost of the murdered Banquo. Make it clear lobbies are responsible for the emissaries they hire. Extra legitimacy, reduced landowners' political strength. Or any concerns about the emissaries' behavior are unfounded, stronger landowners' political strength." I'm going to do the first one. Extra legitimacy is good, and making the landowners weaker is also good. Although the landowners are Democrats in this setup, which is interesting. I have an opportunity to maybe head for an early push towards democracy. We'll see how that goes. Urban rebels. A band of rebels in western Serbia have been demanding us to abdicate the throne to Alexander Karađorđević. They pose no critical threat, but how they're dealt with will send a message. Empathy is an attribute all remarkable leaders must possess. Having rebelled against undesired oppression, the prince knows very well the meaning of taking back what's actually yours. Nothing short of a group of young, gullible rascals they are, he murmured while peeking out the window. We were at least fighting for the future of our nation, not for a man. Make sure they're properly silenced. Armed forces increases pop attraction. Armed forces become angrier. Hasten our dynastic loyalty progress. The armed forces will dislike this due to their ties with Alexander Karađorđević. Arm loyalists and send them in as a show of force. Increase legitimacy. Reduced authority. Armed forces pop attraction. Increase legitimacy. This will greatly hasten our dynastic loyalty progress. Or no need for bloodshed. Everyone has a price. Government expenses. This will hasten our dynastic loyalty progress. 5% of pops in Western Serbia become more loyalist. That's a pretty low price for 5% of pops becoming loyalist. I'm going to pick the third one, actually. That's not that much money, friends. And 5% of pops in our capital state becoming loyalist is really, really good. Look at that. Look at that. We completely wiped out the extras from that event, and for almost nothing. For the equivalent price of one solid consumption tax. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, not one. For the cost of our tobacco consumption tax, at any rate. Well, standard of living is going steadily down, but not getting too much worse. GDP is going up. GDP is increasing because we're building more stuff. Tech is proceeding at what could charitably be described as a glacial pace. Let me see. How is our... Alright, so our liberty desire is going down still, but not very fast. Let's see if we can't secure an agreement for... Ooh! Advancement. We're up to 30%. Let's see if we can get support for independence. I want you to support my independence. I don't want a power block embassy necessarily. What about investment rights? You don't like that much either. Investment rights for a power block embassy? Let's try it. 80% chance. Not the end of the world if you say no. Excellent. So that should give us... Oh, that's giving us significantly increasing. Wow! 20 from support independence. That's huge. So that is giving us increased liberty desire, which is really, really good. So that'll help us keep our liberty desire up, and that will be nice. Cash flow is doing okay. How much longer have we got the evacuated? Another 20 months. All right, so it actually hasn't been that long. I'm like, how soon until I have my money again? I love gold. All right. If I can get myself a freaking paper mill, I can get this going faster. But, oh, I see. This is 3.2 progress per month, but the bar is actually 500. So I've completely misunderstood how long a term this situation is. So if I hit the launch campaign button, so here's what this is. What I was gonna do is slander the rival dynasty. So this reduces Karađorđević's popularity. It boosts dynastic loyalty based on literacy by allowing us to spend authority or government expenses. The launch campaign button assembles the royal entourage to organize a nationwide tour by enforcing authority or spending money. The goal is to visit all states, conversing with the common folk, providing them with palpable progress initiatives in exchange for our precious dynastic loyalty. It will also boost our popularity and defame our rival. Each ruler may only take this action once per term. Effects preparations begin, we will soon be asked to abandon the idea forever or choose between one of the following expenses until the campaign's ending. Reduced landowners... Forced campaign, which is reduced landowners' approval, reduced landowners' pop attraction, and reduced authority. Moderate campaign fund, which costs £400 per week. Or extravagant campaign fund, which costs £750 per week. Chosen level of expense will determine the effectiveness of investments to visited states and our popularity for years to come. I'm tempted to do this. I think a moderate level of investment will be sufficient. This is dicey because I'm gonna reduce my government my profitability pretty significantly. I'm close to my tooling workshops. Maybe I'll finish the tooling workshops first, then I'll give it a pause and do that campaign while I develop a little bit more cash flow, and I'll let the private sector handle the construction of their delicious meat farms here, and then we'll circle back because I think the forced campaign thing is actually just going to be bad. I think it's not going to achieve any of what I wish to achieve. What? France. Henri de Bourbon. We have a legitimate France in this run. How curious. Very curious. And of course we've got Ramon de Salazar here leading Austria. Lucas Harcourt, exiled from France. A North German minoritarian traditionalist. Interesting. Ooh, National Militia is 38%. Very nice. Law enforcement is up to 2%. Law enforcement's giving me a pile of bonuses. Yeah, reduce state penalties from turmoil and reduce radicals from political movements. I can actually get all the way up to level 4, but I don't want to go that far right now because I want to keep an eye on my bureaucracy, because if I get over bureaucracy, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to have really taken myself to Headachesville. Cash flow is doing a little bit better. I wonder if employment is going up in my areas. Let's take a quick look at population. Population is doing all right. Small number of unemployed pops in Western Serbia. Population is going up, which is also good. Right, because we're getting a bunch of pops in from Hungary. Hungary, how dare you mod your eyes? How absolute dare. Now, hey, law progress consideration. Wonderful. So I'm hoping I can get independence from the Ottoman Empire. And if I can do that, then I can throw in war goals to snag Eastern and Western Serbia and maybe Karadağ. And if I can get Karadağ, let me see if the Ottoman Empire has currently got any debuffs from Montenegro. Doesn't appear so. Mobilizing the militia, interesting. Oh, they lost their leader really early. Interesting. They're trying to do land reform. Well, gotta hand it to them. They're trying to speedrun this thing. They should probably have their local governors are probably furious. So this is likely going to fail and cause an Ottoman civil war, and that will be interesting. I wonder if I'll be able to increase to maybe get a chance to break free if there's a civil war. Faith knows no borders. The Orthodox Church wishes to strengthen our ties to Wallachia through our shared faith. He stopped for a moment, wiping his brow, when he noticed the Wallachian farmhand on the adjacent field seemed to be knelt down in the furrow. Confused, he peered over, finally noticing the man was deep in prayer. He should have recognized it, but it had never crossed his mind what they might have in common. A few hard years and a faith that things would get better. Despite differences, we must cherish our shared values. Serbian relations towards Wallachia improves by 30. Orthodox Church gets increased political strength and happiness. Or we're Serb first, Orthodox second. Intelligentsia become happier. I'm going to go with the first one for now. I should take a quick look and see if any of my groups have different abilities. It looks like landowners are the same as always. Armed forces are the same as always. Orthodox Church. The mostly defaults from the vanilla. Rural folk. Basically the same. Hey, law debate success. Wonderful. So let's bring us up to like 48% enactment chance, which is nice. Petite bourgeoisie. Yep, same as ever. Alright, nothing. Oh, that's why my bureaucracy went up, because I got the petite bourgeoisie hanging around. That's nice. Improved relations broken. Alright, that's pretty okay. Can I increase relations with Sweden? I cannot. What about the United States? Nope, they don't care what's going on over here in Europe. Egypt? Can't, because I don't have the influence. But... oh no, these can get up to 50. Alright, so we're not... with Wallachia. Oh, they're improving relations with us. Finished. Well, them's the breaks. Whichever way forward, with the attitudes of the armed forces growing towards Russia growing more apathetic, their leadership has begun to discuss reassessing the group's support for the Serb-Russian Fellowship. It was more difficult to get appointments at the foreign ministry these days. The initial interest that they had inspired had long since waned, the lobby's activities falling into Belgrade's background noise. The armed forces were the first to lose interest, their representatives initially disheartened by an absence of news, then no longer inclined to read the papers when they arrived at all. What reason do we have to care for happenings in St. Petersburg? The young members challenged. The elders did not know how to respond. So, my Serb-Russian Fellowship is a good thing to have. It'll be only the church if we don't do this. It's time for changing course. Armed forces leave the Serb-Russian Fellowship. Or, why change something that works? The armed forces will remain. I'm going to have them remain. And we'll see. We'll see if Russia... I see if Russia's building anything. Foreign cues. Nope. Sad. Tragic, really. But I got our tooling factory built, which is really, really good. So, we start using wrought iron tools. Then we can start using sawmills for our logging camps. Produce hardwood, does that make us more profitable? It does not. Excellent. Okay, so this is very good for us overall. Let's go to secular academia for a university. Do we even have the ability to do philosophy departments? No, I need dialectics for that. Tragic. Let's do butchering tools for our livestock ranch. That's going to make them more productive. Let's actually... ooh, sugar beets. That's neat. I think that might be new in this DLC. Let's go with... oh, would harvesting tools make them more profitable? No. We are going to start producing citrus orchards for our wheat farms. That's going to make them more productive. And now we've really got an economy. Look at this. We got cash flow. So now I think is an appropriate time to start our campaign. Campaign planning.
Hey,
Preparations for a nationwide campaign have commenced to boost our popularity and tarnish the House of Karađorđević in the eyes of the general public. Oh, look at this. Look at this nice image here. And the Honorable Prince Miloš is sending his gracious regards to all of his subjects. We will now begin to choose volunteers for the parade. Strapping young men, followed by overly hopeful town gals, eagerly set forward to gather at the established grounds. This was an unrepeatable opportunity to be noticed by royalty, and perhaps get saved from carrying hay or riding mules to fields for life. What's the point if we're the ones to pay? Forced campaign, reduced authority, landowners unhappy, reduced landowners' attraction. Pay what is necessary, increase government expenses by 400. Spare no expense, increase government expenses by 750. Or perhaps this isn't a good initiative at all, ideas shelved. Oh, but only for 5 years. Interesting. So, my additional expenses line items. See, now that our cash flow is actually doing a lot better, I'm considering more possibilities. Revolutionary legacy. Proportional fervor for Serbian culture indexes. So evacuating Magyarized Serbs is only going on a little longer. How long does this last? It is indefinite, but it's only until the campaign finishes. Well... No, I'm not going to get too risky with this. I'm going to pay what's necessary. So this is interesting. I'm really pleased to have my own tooling. Does that reduce my economic dependence on the Ottomans? It does a little bit. Liberty Desire is going up now, but by less. I wonder why. Oh, because of the prestige. The Ottoman Empire's prestige has gone up. So we need to increase our prestige, and unfortunately the only way to do that is to increase our armed forces. Come on, National Militia. Hell yeah. Get it done. Let's take a quick look at our thing. We're going 2.9. Not getting any from the campaign just yet. Let's see how that goes. So there's Paddle Steamer. So now we are researching General Staff. That's going to make our infantry viable long term, or at least midland term. And that is important because we need to be able to hold our own in a fight. The Prince's Accord. Our campaign organizers have brought up the idea of supporting an interest group to gain more loyalty. One by one, representatives from certain circles entered the court to discuss their shortcomings. It was always the same ones, too. A peculiar circumstance the Prince's advisors noticed during these meetings was the hectic competition among the groups. They quickly realized the potential to exploit this race for greater political power, and were fully aware that this was a transaction, not a gift. We shall promote the rural folk, extra approval, extra interest group political strength, extra interest group attraction, for approval, which is quite good. The campaign will begin soon. Let's bring the petite bourgeoisie with us. Extra interest group approval, same bonuses, but for the petite bourgeoisie instead of the rural folk. 5% political strength for approval and 10% attraction. The campaign will start soon. Or, that honor belongs only to us. Same effects, but for the landowners. Let's go with the petite bourgeoisie. Let's make the petite bourgeoisie stronger and happier. They're going to reduce loan interest rate, which is quite good for a small country like Serbia. Paper mills are getting going. After that, it's a university. I think I might actually build 2 levels of universities. Just because tech is so rough here. Chilling workshops are fully employed, but cash flow is not great. I need to get the Atmo pump engine really, really desperately. Let's go ahead and queue in another round of mines. In fact, let's actually throw that in ahead of the universities, beginning the phase of the campaign where the universities are indefinitely delayed. All right, so we've achieved National Militia. What else is on the docket? We have the ability to go to Census Suffrage already. Going to Census Suffrage would irritate the Orthodox Church, which is interesting. Why do you not like Census Suffrage? Because your form of patriarchy makes you autocratic. Interesting. Very interesting. What if you left the government? Oh wow, that's going to reduce our legitimacy significantly. What if we brought the petite bourgeoisie into the government? Petite bourgeoisie are not as strong as I thought they were. That's interesting. So if I do this, let's do this. And then let's see, can I still get this without... Yeah, absolutist movement's still going to be passive. Let's take a run at it. Let's take an end run at... let's shoot for suffrage. Let's see how that changes our whole situation. We're getting democracy early. And I think this is good. Armed Forces investment. I should also build a government administration eventually. We'll be using filing cabinets and secular admin. An eventually situation, but it'll be good to get enough bureaucracy to get law enforcement up to 5. And at least have a little bit left over. Eastern Serbia still basically... let's go ahead and throw a decree. Oh, I'm short on authority. Right, because the Orthodox Church aren't happy anymore. Tragic. Campaign in Serbian East Serbia. We've arrived at Serbian Eastern Serbia to address the common folks' needs and paint them a brighter future. They eagerly await to heed our promises, paid by the campaign funds. The officers delivered carefully prepared and memorized speeches that ignited national pride in the hearts of listeners. The goal was to engage the crowd before Prince Miloš's brief final address, concluding the event with a gift to the community to solidify his position in the hearts of the people and on the throne. Supporters of the Karađorđević will not be pleased with this. Well-being of everyone before all else. Increased standard of living decaying for 5 years. We shall move on to the next state. Serbia and Eastern Serbia deserves a better foundation. Increased state construction efficiency and infrastructure for 5 years. All shall be able to read the treasuries of the Karađorđe. Increase welfare payments and education access for 5 years. Or, together we are stronger, increased conversion and migration traction. We shall move on to the next state. Interesting. For my money, I think standard of living is the way to go. This is significant. So we'll do it. Alright, 2.2 current monthly progress. We're getting a bunch from evacuating Magyarized Serbs, but I think that's going to end pretty soon. Yeah, 3 months. But we'll keep our progress going. And once we got these paper mills built, we can slander the rival dynasty, and that'll also be nice. Long-term survival needs, we've got to get an arms industry, an artillery foundry, and then eventually a munitions plant built. We don't have intensive agriculture yet, though, so we can't build that. And in fact, it might be a hard time getting that. If we become independent, we'll need to import munitions from Austria. Austrian market, please tell me you have. Oh god, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt real bad. Oh, it's gonna hurt the worst. If we can get access to their market hubs. So once we're fighting for our independence, if we can get access to our market hubs, then we can buy munitions from abroad. Oh man. Oh, that's so rough. We're in a tough position in this, the first 10 years of our game as Little Serbia. Let me see. I think I want to cut my consumption tax on tea in order to have a sufficiency of authority to encourage agricultural industry in eastern Serbia. On the policy of the government, allies of the petite bourgeoisie and the absolutist movement have released a pamphlet fiercely criticizing the government's current policies. The pamphlet has become popular within reformist circles. On the prince's policy, the great speech delivered before the esteemed Belgrade Society for Reform in mid-October. Error in makeup. After reading first page of speech, pass to page 5, and then page 4 and 6. Okay. We must respect the principle of free expression, stronger absolutist movement but reduced activism. Or confiscate this pamphlet wherever it emerges. Increased political movement activism for absolutist movement. They're at 25% right now. I'm going to let them get a little stronger but reduced activism. I think that's the right call. Because they're currently going towards... Yeah, they're currently at 25% because they don't like census suffrage. The paperwork of elections. Implementing a proper voting system for the upcoming census suffrage elections has put a strain on the Serbian government's administrative capabilities. So, one of the things that we've experienced here is that in English, in American English, when we say American, that refers to the adjective of being American, but it also refers to Americans. But not all countries are like this. So, for example, in Serbia, I believe Serbian is the correct adjective, but Serb refers to the Serb people. Refers to Serbs as people. And unfortunately, the game's event structure is built with only one of these. So, we're in kind of a goofy situation with that. So I'm going to be reading the adjective as Serbian, and every time we're talking about Serbs as people, I'm going to say Serbs. And hopefully I'm not completely off base with that. Once we have the whole infrastructure in place, it will be much easier. We need to prove that we can do this. People need to be able to trust that their votes are properly collected and counted, or they will quickly dismiss the elections as a sham. The people are watching. Other nations are watching. We can't afford to take shortcuts. We will use the resources from other administrative branches if necessary, minus 10% bureaucracy, or we will simply have to take our time, increase enactment time. We're generating 110 bureaucracy, so 10% is 11. We'll use resources from other administrative branches. Now, we're at level 2 for law enforcement, and that's pretty good. I might drop back to level... we're at level 3. I might drop back to level 2. Forbidden love. I didn't notice that this was here. The prince's heir, Milan Obranovic, has caused a scandal by declaring his love for a young Sephardim woman. It is the opinion of this author that our vivacious heir apparent may be truly, impossibly, uncomfortably in love. This news has undoubtedly distressed it says the tons aspiring women. The towns inspiring women? I don't know what the ton is. Maybe the ton refers to like it's like a palace in Serbia or something. Like the supreme port is for the Ottoman Empire, maybe? I'm not sure. The news has undoubtedly distressed the tons aspiring women, but I imagine it must bring a new glimmer of hope to the eyes of Sephardim people far and wide. Can you believe it, Lady Hill? And he didn't even have the decency to be quiet about it. What of the bloodline, Lord Dawson? Yes, what of the children, Lord Dawson? Will no one think of the children? Don't fret, Lady Annesley. The prince will surely intervene. The heir apparent will act according to his station. He becomes wrathful. He becomes withdrawn from the public for reduced popularity by 10 for 50 years. Interesting. And wrathful is, as ruler, extra authority, reduced character health, no modification to popularity. Unfortunately, the young woman has disappeared. 25% of Sephardim pops in Serbia become more radical. He gets well-known tragedy, plus 25 popularity. Or we must let love be love. Increased acceptance for Sephardim culture in Serbia. He gets scandalous lover for 50 years. He will change ideology to enlightened royalist. That's so interesting. So what is this? They like monarchy and they're against republics. Like multiculturalism and are against ethno-state and national supremacy. They like protected speech and are against censorship and outlawed dissent. They like women's suffrage and are against restricting the rights of women. And they like compulsory primary school. This is really tempting, but here's the thing. We don't want to do multiculturalism yet. It's too early on in the run. Our man is not very popular. We will get a little extra authority if he's wrathful. What percentage of Serbia is Sephardic? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to sort of think in this cravenly mercenary way. Not many. We've only got about 800,000 people, and only 1,000 are Sephardim. So, unfortunately, the young woman has disappeared. He'll get some extra popularity out of that. We'll radicalize a very small number of pops, but them's the breaks. In the future, things will go better for our Jewish minorities, but for now, we have to focus on the needs of Crown and majority. Problematic policing. Police officers in uniform have been discovered supporting Serb-Russian fellowship activity while on duty, lowering public confidence in the police force. A resident of Serbia and Eastern Serbia comments on members of the police force patrol that walk by in pristine uniforms with a hint of arrogance in their gait. Disdain drops from the onlooker's voice. These officers certainly think highly of themselves. They carry out errands for the Serb-Russian fellowship and accept their gifts. They ignore their duty to the people of Serbia and Eastern Serbia. As long as everyone is discreet, there's no harm. 5% of pops in Serbia and Eastern Serbia become more radical. Serb relations toward Russia improve by 5. Or we need to restore the public's confidence. Appeasement of the Serb-Russian fellowship changes by -1, but 5% of pops in Serbia and Eastern Serbia become more loyalist. I'm going to go with the second one. 5% of pops in one of my states becoming more loyal is critical in this time. Standard of living has gone up by a little bit. There we go. Look at that bump in loyalism. Wonderful. Do I have the capacity to go to iron frame construction? I actually do. This would be good for my tooling industry. It would be good for my... It would be bad for my cash flow, but cash flow is doing okay. I'm going to do this, and we'll see how that affects things. Okay, so I've completely wiped out my budget surplus, but I'm building significantly faster now. Oop, I'm actually... and now I'm in a deficit, but that's okay. It's not a hugely significant deficit. Our gold reserves are actually pretty solid. The bar has gone down because our gold reserve limit has increased by so much with the advent of all the new industry that I've built. So things are going well all over. Campaigning in Western Serbia. We have arrived at Western Serbia to address the common folks' needs and paint them a brighter future. They eagerly await to heed our promises paid for by the campaign fund. The officers delivered carefully prepared and memorized speeches that ignited national pride in the hearts of listeners. Their goal was to engage the crowd before Prince Miloš's brief final address, concluding the event with a gift to the community to solidify his position in the hearts of the people and on the throne. Supporters of Karađorđević will not be pleased with this. So, well-being of everyone... So these are the same options as before. I can go with the well-being one to increase standard of living. I can say extra state construction efficiency and infrastructure. I can say we should all be able to read the treacheries of the Karađorđe, increase education access and welfare payments. Or together we're stronger, increase conversion and migration traction. I'm actually going to go with construction efficiency because we're building a ton here, and 20% construction efficiency is no small thing. All of our construction at present is happening in Western Serbia, and with a 30% construction efficiency bonus, that is really, really worth it. I'm actually going to drop back law enforcement just to make sure we can get what we need to get. And I think this law would change the government's legitimacy by -67, but you know, once there's an election, things will be better. Relations with Wallachia are continuing to be good. can make diplomatic demands of Wallachia? That's interesting. I can't take them in a fight, of course, but... Hey, there's the lathe unlocked. Wonderful. Speaking of which, who's building arts academies? Hey, there's banking unlocked. That's wonderful. Did I start with an arts... No, someone's building it. Who's building this arts academy? Am I crazy? Am I building an arts academy? No. The private sector's love affair with arts academies continues. The old authority, stalled. Census Suffrage reform threatens the power held by many leading figures in Serbia, some of whom are using the political connections they have to obstruct its passing. Between you and me, there are far too many high-minded idealists involved in this. They find something noble in giving up their own influence, spreading it to the masses like alms to the poor. Perhaps they think it will save their souls or their legacies. I am more practically inclined. I'm concerned with the immediate future of myself and my friends. I can count you among those, can't I? They must be ousted from their positions if they try to stop the new law. One setback, 2% of aristocrats and capitalists become more radical, or perhaps we can collaborate with them in the creation of a new system. 20% increased enactment time, 15% reduced enactment chance. We're right at even here, but 15% reduced enactment success chance and 20% increased enactment time is significant. Our baseline amount is pretty high. This is being opposed by the absolutist movement. And because our king is an authoritarian. Interesting. I'm going to take this first one. If this fails out, it's not the end of the world, but I want to keep my enactment chance really high if I can. Reducing my investment in law enforcement is also going to be good because it's going to increase my amount of bureaucracy, which is going to provide a little bit of extra state construction efficiency. Almost got my paper mills built, and that's also going to help. Back to the palace. After an exhausting campaign, the royal entourage have brought us back to the palace. We may proceed with our daily affairs. The creaking of the wagon wheels turning on the stone road slightly muffled the cacophony of cheers from the people as their supreme prince returned home. He had allowed himself to close his eyes and daydream about sleeping in bed for a while. However, it quickly morphed into a nightmare, reminding him of the snakes beneath it, working for the Karađorđević. They must have remembered who their real prince is. Alexander Karađorđević gets humiliated by rival for reduced popularity for 20 years. Miloš Obrenović gets moderate campaign harvest for 10 years, plus 25 popularity, and the campaign is ended. Let's go ahead and hit that second one. It's going to give us a little bit more popularity. Let's see if it waits to tick over to the next thingy-mabob here. The thingy-ma-Robert. Nope, that just puts us at 25. Alright. So from here, where's the Crown of Thorns at? We're at 3.4 average monthly progress. Extra from rural popularity, extra from low rival popularity, extra from major powers or great powers supporting our independence. That's pretty nice. Extra from quashing rebels, and a little bit each from standard of living legitimacy and from approval of non-marginalized interest groups in opposition, and then we get our baseline ticking support from censorship or outlawed dissent. So we're making good progress here as we hit 1840, as 1840 gets underway. I wonder if perhaps we can get a support independence from someone whose ability to help is a little bit more substantial. Austria. Let's talk. What if you supported my independence? You don't want to support my independence. Why is this so low? Austrian Empire's attitude towards the Ottomans is cautious. Interesting. What about you, Great Britain? Same situation? The Ottoman Empire is protective. Interesting. Well, that is a curious situation. We have the ability to slander our rival dynasty. So let's do that. Slander pamphlets. We've been given the opportunity to produce pamphlets to defame the house of Karađorđević. There is a fine line between propaganda and slander, and for sure the former has the potential to be a politician's deadliest weapon. A pamphlet sample made by a renowned artist and calligrapher was presented to the prince that morning. Holding the paper, he observed that under many mischievous quote-unquote facts written on top, there was the patriarch of the house of Karađorđević on all fours, chewing on thigh meat that was captioned as a Serbian peasant in the local tongue, while being ridiculed and commanded by an Ottoman pasha. Ingenious. Government expenses will hasten our dynastic loyalty based on literacy, or start the production now. Reduced authority will hasten our dynastic progress based on loyalty. I'm just going to do ingenious. I'm going to spend the government expenses. That's going to put us in a deficit, but only a very small one. And allow me to keep my precious authority. Hey, Ottomans. How about you give me control over my own market? Ooh. No available. What? Why can't I demand control of the states that are mine? Okay, in March of 1842, I can do more. I've got an iron shortage. That's a shame, but we are building more iron mines. Unfortunately, Ottoman iron production efficiency is going to be a hard cap on my ability to continue to grow economically, which is a shame. Perhaps I'll queue in another level of iron mines. And, you know, maybe I'll just set them right in front of my universities again, continuing to reduce the speed at which universities get built. Our economic growth is going steadily up. Police brutality. The use of extreme force is becoming increasingly common among police officers in Western Serbia. The working class and the socially conscious are rallying against the police as an institution. Scarcely a week passes without their committing some offense which disgusts everybody but the magistrates. Boys are bruised by their ferocity, women insulted by their ruffianism, and that which brutality has done perjury denies, and magisterial stupidity suffers to go unpunished. Police brutality is becoming one of our most venerated institutions. We cannot tolerate this behavior. Happier intelligentsia and rural folk. Reduce law enforcement investment by 1. Or the use of force is warranted. 5% of lower sternum pops in Western Serbia become more radical. Armed forces and petite bourgeoisie happier by 2 points. I'm actually going to go with the first one. That'll reduce my armed forces investment, and it'll just go down to 2, and that'll be where it wants to be. So I don't get any overflow progress, but that's all right. That's where we want to be. Low organization in the Vojska Knježevin Serbia. Low organization, why? Because of a supply shortage, because of a shortage of iron. Alright, well, them's the breaks. We're working on that. We're working on that right now. We got iron mines in construction even as we speak. Foreigners continue not to build anything in Serbia, tragically, even though we have so much great everything. France, what about you? Law progress to consideration, heck yeah. Are they also cautious towards the Ottomans? They are. Interesting. People in Europe are scared of the Ottoman Empire. This is new. So I should have my cash flow improving. Czech Revolutionary Legacy. Oh, you know what? It's already been improved, and indeed, the cash flow is getting better, so that's good. How's the Obranimich? We're at 3.9. Right, and we're getting a little bit of extra from. Let me see. Is the slander that I did in here? It doesn't look like it. Legitimacy is low as we push towards democratization, but we're in consideration. So that's not nothing. 36% with a 20% advance chance. So I'm feeling pretty okay with things as they currently stand. Once we've got our own military industry, it's going to be a lot easier to improve our economy. So I could just increase the size of the armed forces. The Serb-Russian Fellowship offers an opportunity. The Serb-Russian Fellowship has offered us an opportunity to establish an alliance with Russia. The lobby has offered to use their connections to smooth the negotiating process. The negotiations done to the table with the representative of the Russian government have been long and arduous. The Russian representative knew they were dealing with a group without power to match theirs, and they had adjusted their strategy accordingly. Nevertheless, they had come to an agreement. Nothing in writing, but that was hardly important. When the government sent the official copy, if they did, they would find there was already a drafted response waiting in St. Petersburg. We would be happy to pursue this, or this is not in our interests. I'm going to say we'd be happy to pursue this because I feel that an alliance would be within our interests. I'm going to wait until a week ticks over. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Bunch of things happening. The absolutist movement organizes in Western Serbia. Organizers affiliated with the absolutist movement have embarked on a focused campaign to inspire support for autocracy in Western Serbia. Residents of every region in the world like to say that their home has a long and unique history of tight-knit community. The organizer almost agreed. The problem, of course, was that said community often did not extend to outsiders. He'd been thrown out on his ear more times than he could count, but he persisted nonetheless. If he could introduce the right phrase into the right circles, perhaps even an idea that had been rejected offhand at first would begin to find purchase. There are plenty of willing ears in Western Serbia, a stronger absolutist movement. Western Serbia gets increased political strength, but increased radicals from political movements. Or they must be concerned with far more grounded things. No modifier to the absolutist movement. Half the increase in universal pop strength and radicals from political movements. I think I'm going to go with the second one. I don't want a stronger absolutist movement. The East Serbian crop failure. The state of Serbia and Eastern Serbia has been struck by a blight. The crops are dying left and right, and the harvest is sure to be less than expected this year. We noticed some crops dying a few weeks ago, but we didn't think anything of it. We always lose a few. We didn't expect this. This will affect the harvest, minus 60% agriculture throughput, or we will help out how we can. Cost the government £100 a week for 2 years. Increased welfare payments, 30% agriculture throughput penalty. I'm going to do the second one. I definitely can afford it. And that is how we do it. We're making good, steady progress here. Closing in on 4 per week. So that should have us done with this event chain in about 2 or 3 years, which will be really, really nice if we can make it happen. Iron mines are continuing to be built. Obviously, economic growth is pretty slow, particularly now that we've totally beefed the west here. Private sector is building some food industries. Let's take a quick look at that. We can use sweeteners. The Ottoman Empire is indeed producing sugar, I believe. Yes, and it's pretty cheap as well. We're way overproducing liquor, so I'm actually going to prioritize grocery production for the time being. Has anyone produced any... Do we have realism? I don't. Any other industry? I kind of desperately need some furniture manufactories, glassworks, and textile mills. So we're going to queue those in as well, and this is going to be the basis of our... This is our light industry. I'm actually going to put the glassworks at the bottom. So once we've got ourselves some heavy industry, we'll build some light industry, and that will give us a really solid economy. We are still a protectorate. Our liberty desire is still going down. We're in ascent for census suffrage. Hell yes, hell yes, hell yes. Which is not ideal. Relations are still bad. Let's see if the Prussians wouldn't support our independence. They're also afeared of the Ottomans. Dang. Man, nobody's willing to do this. 2 Sicilies? Everyone's got that fear of the Ottomans in them. That's bananas. Okay, so Russia, we were talking about getting an alliance. They don't want to. Why not? Because we don't have an army. Well, them's the breaks. I suppose we could construct a standing army. That's always possible. How far are we from general staff? Pretty far. We've got screw frigate spreading, and that's not going to change. We built some more iron mines. Hopefully that'll improve our overall economic prospects. Building a second set, and I do still think we want that. Getting a little bit of extra bureaucracy. So bureaucracy is expensive. That's the one thing that I want to be conscientious of here. We're experiencing a little bit of a tough time economically on account of Eastern Serbia is in a really bad spot in terms of their crop failure. There's relief, but it's going to persist the whole way through, but it's going to be tough. So once we got census suffrage, though, that'll be interesting. I predict that'll mean a strong petite bourgeoisie and strong armed forces. Armed forces might be pretty weak, though. We don't have a very large army. I think getting a slightly stronger army, though, is going to be of use. So, I think I want 2 battalions of infantry in the east and 1 battalion of artillery in the west. And we're going to put these above our light industry and our government for the time being. And maybe we'll take a run at them and see how long. 14 weeks. So it's a substantial increase here. Let's organize our national militia. Let's take a little bit of time to do that. So, national militia is going to consist largely of infantry. We have 8 battalions of capacity in the west and 5 in the east. I'm going to throw 3 levels into the eastern areas. Actually, I'm going to throw 4 levels into the east, and then 1 level of artillery into the east. And then for the west, I think we'll do 2 levels infantry, 2 levels of artillery, 1 level of cavalry. So that'll mean when we're fully mobilized, Russia sides with Egypt. Oh, there's a thing going on. Excellent. All right, so we're having an opportunity here. Austria is also likely to... Oh, they're all likely to side with Egypt. All right, wonderful. But I can't get an offer, which is a shame. Because I would love to be able to... Beautiful. Census suffrage. Hell yeah. And that puts us in an election cycle, or will very, very soon. Armed forces, it's been real. You're out of the government for now. All right. Let's take a look at our parties. Oops, we don't have parties. We have a national party. The Orthodox Church and the Petite Bourgeoisie will join the Conservative Party. And the armed forces will form the National Party. So that's not great. The rural folk and the industrialists are partyless. Let's consolidate. And we start working on something else? I don't think so, not yet. Could change up the anti-strike laws, go to a guild system. Oh no, absolutely not. The reduced qualifications are just terrible. The popularity contest. So, the Conservative Party is likely to hold all the momentum. The National Party is likely to get a very small amount. I don't necessarily want the Conservative Party to hold all the momentum, though, so let's see how things go. The eyes of the electorate have turned to the candidates that seek to acquire a position at the head of the government. As the election approaches, voters debate who would provide the best leadership for Serbia. I quite like Resovac, mused one of the men at the bar. I couldn't say what it is I agree with him on, but I think he has a good head on his shoulders. His neighbor spoke up. Enough to look past the company he keeps? Well, why not? God knows you can say the same about any of us. Nobody is better to handle a fool than his friend. Milan Zdravkovic Resovac is the man of the hour. Resovac is the man of the hour. Extra momentum to the National Party, or a term of Stefan Stefanovic is what the country needs. Extra momentum to the Conservative Party. I'm going to go with the first one, so that momentum by way of the National Party. It's not much, but it is what it is. What it means is if the petite bourgeoisie break off and join the Conservative Party and join the National Party, they'll be in a subsequent election. They'll be in a much better spot, and that's kind of what I'm about here. If I support the Ottoman Empire unconditionally, it will absolutely bork my economy, really, really wreck it. But it may increase my liberty desire, maybe? Britain has bailed out. Austria is preferential. Come on, Austria. Make the call. Do it. Do it. Everybody gang up on the Ottomans. If I join this, do I become independent? I don't think so. I can just do this. Oh, but if I do this, then they'll be able to reduce my autonomy or steal bits from me. So that's why I can't do it. All right. So now I'm leaving it be for the time being. All right. We're continuing to build up iron mines, and hopefully that'll improve our situation. Universities are pretty fast to build, faster than arms industries and artillery foundries, so I think I'm going to build those first. The Hungry 40s, an outbreak of crop disease in Moscow has begun to spread across much of the European continent. With a failed harvest looming, fears of a famine have begun to circle. The doctor prodded the potato with his instrument and leaned aside so that his colleague could see. The tool's blunt tip had sunk a centimeter into a discolored patch of its flesh. It's the blight, I'm afraid. Were I to inspect any other tuber from the field, the result would likely be the same. As it stands, I would recommend extraordinary measures. Calamity. Reduced European potato famine hits. All right. 50% disease outbreak, harvest condition impact. Rye farms building throughput minus 30%. Wheat fields building throughput minus 15%. Or set up funds for purchasing foreign grain. Half the impacts. Well, so the second one is 25% disease outbreak harvest condition impact instead of 50%. The rye farms building throughput penalty is 15% instead of 20%. The wheat farms building throughput penalty is 10% instead of 15%. The trade advantage from imports increases by 10%, and we get Serbian potato famine relief for 2 years, 100 government expenses. I'm going to go with that second one. The Hungry 40s. A wave of crop blights has struck Europe, spurring poor harvests and food shortages. The blight is especially lethal to potatoes, causing them to rapidly decay into a foul-smelling, inedible mush. The European potato blight. Whilst this journal entry is active, the rate at which the disease outbreak harvest condition appears in European states will be greatly elevated. If time runs out, triggers the event easier times. Possible events. Effects. Serbia gets agricultural recovery. Serbia gets elevated import levels. Interesting. The September Convention. Egypt offers to support our independence in exchange for a lot of money. Let's negotiate. That's too much. Tell you what. How about you support our independence in exchange for not money? How about that? If they say yes, I'll be so pleased. Hell yes! Oh, so good. Oh, I'm the best at diplomacy. Oh my gosh, what a hero I am. Alright. I think cash flow is doing really well, so I think it's time for us to build ourselves another construction sector. So I'm going to throw this almost all the way at the top. I'm going to actually build it after the mines are completed, because I want to make sure that iron is sufficiently present in the market. Well, let's see, progress is going up, but not nearly as much as before. The grand plan pays off. Glogria Vozarevich, the methodical leader of the petite bourgeoisie, has been studiously working behind the scenes for some time now, and at last all his hard work has paid off for the petite bourgeoisie and Serbia. The man is so pleased with his act that he looks like he's about to burst into flames of contained emotion. How charming. Professionally speaking, though, not the most clever move. Yes, just as planned. The petite bourgeoisie shall reap the rewards, extra momentum to the Conservative Party, or Serbia shall reap the rewards, increased gold reserve limit, reduced loan interest rate. I'm going to go with the second one. I do not wish for the Conservative Party to get stronger. We've got some authority to play with. Is there anyone who's I can improve relations with? Let's improve relations with Egypt. They're going to win this war and become a stronger power in the area. What about Persia? No, huh? Shame. Well, Moldavia. Let's increase relations with Moldavia. And maybe the Transnubia and Croatia, Slavonia. And we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. I want to retain... Oh, this is really good. I want to retain my potential low relations with Hungary, because I want to steal their territory. A donation of knowledge. Svetomir Teodorovich has offered to spend some of their personal wealth to fund the creation of a university in western Serbia, though this will likely give the industrialists some influence. The Svetomir Teodorovich University will be a proud bastion of learning in these times of rapid progress, where knowledge truly is power. A wonderful idea. Level 1 university, industrialists stronger, or no, we can't give them a platform, industrialists mad. I'm definitely going to go with the first one. Getting a free university is huge in 1841, particularly as a small country. This is going to really significantly increase my weekly innovation. And by really significantly, I mean by 2. But, you know, it's better than nothing. Now to get the better university production method, I need to get dialectics researched. I'm still kicking around in nationalism. I got banking, I got stock exchange spreading to me, and that should sort itself out. So let's queue in dialectics, and we'll see how that goes. Oh, Croatia Slavonia's got an interesting flag. I haven't seen that flag before. That's neat. Man, I hope the Ottoman Empire loses this war. I really hope that they do. It seems like the Russians should be able to take them in a fight. And there is the there's the election. Let's pull the National Party into the government. And then, let's see what we can do politics-wise. We got census suffrage, that's good. Conscience... Could do some home affairs. Could change up the anti-strike laws? No, because I can only go to guild system, and I don't want guild system. Can I get combination acts? That would not be good. Right to associate. Who would want this? The trade unions. Who would want combination acts? The industrialists. And the industrialists are not strong enough. So, I could go to homesteading, theoretically. But the rural folk don't desire it. Well, the rural folk desire it, but they're not in the government. I could pull them into the government. If I went to homesteading... that wouldn't affect movement. What if we do everyone's government? Colonization is an interesting idea, but of course, I don't have anywhere to colonize. Isolationism, obviously not. No. Homesteading, stall chances... well, stall chance is not that high. Nah, I don't think it's worth pissing off my landowners over. Sorry, rural folk. You're out. Alright, so we are still... okay, now we're getting pretty solid progress. 3.9. Is it better with the rural folk in the government? No, it's worse. Cool, alright, we got ourselves sorted. 3.6. Well, maybe I'm not paying enough attention to how this is calculated, but in any case, 3.6 means about 2 years and things will be good to go. We're doing really good cash flow-wise. We got our second construction sector built. That means we're going to be constructing 20... we're going to be generating 20 construction points per week, and that's going to be really, really good. I believe that's one entire project. If I'm not mistaken. That's one entire project. Hey, Russia, we did the thing, right? I didn't do the thing. Why is your acceptance so low? Right, because I don't have an army. Oh, that's a shame. That's right, I queued in my army, but I didn't, I don't want to do it until I've got my own arms industry, because I don't want to be totally dependent on Ottoman arms production. I don't want to be building a new army while I'm totally dependent on Ottoman arms production is really the issue. Alright, we're getting some lead mines built. That's pretty rock solid. There will come a time when when it is useful for me to... You did it, private sector. You nailed it. You built an arts academy, and that arts academy exists. Ooh. I should be able to ask the Ottomans for, market control again. They've declined, and that has made me more independent. More independence-minded, really. Alright, now... So now there's a question. I don't want to wage a war right away. Oh, wait, hold on. Actually... No. I don't... That's stupid. I need to keep working. I gotta get my army up. I gotta get my own arms industry, and then I'll be in a position to go to war with the Ottomans. Right. It's only half of the construction is going towards my universities. That's. I'm like, why is this not going the way I? Why is it not going at the speed I want it to be going at? It's because of the private sector. It's because of the private sector. Oh, come on! To Protaku. Petar Jovanovic has grown discontented with the Serb government's institutions. A conspiracy is forming amongst the Orthodox Church to launch a coup against the government and establish an autocracy. What did you make of Petar's little speech there? It's a drastic proposal, but hard times call for great men to take charge. Will the people see it that way? They must be made to see it that way. Delightfully devilish adds coup to the Journal of Serbia. The coup's progress will advance by 25%. Orthodox Church gains coup attempt supported for 10 years, extra interest group political strength. Or, keep an eye on Peter Jovanovic. Adds coup to the Journal of Serbia. The coups progress will advance by 10% instead of 25%. And the Orthodox Church will gain coup attempt resisted, minus 5% interest group strength for 10 years. I'm going to do the second one. I don't wish to have a coup. I don't wish to become an autocracy, sir. The coup's progress is increasing. So let me go ahead and give you a read on what this is. The coup is currently expected to gain progress. The Orthodox Church are planning a coup against our democratic institutions, aiming to seize control of the government and install a regime more amiable to their desires. Will complete if the Orthodox Church is powerful, if the approval of the Orthodox Church is less than 0, and the Orthodox Church is ready to execute the coup. If completed, the Orthodox Church will immediately enact the autocracy law, triggers the event coup. Will fail if at least one of these, the coup has no progress, the Orthodox Church are not part of the government, or stance on autocracy is less than endorse. Interesting. If failed, if the interest group is removed from government while the coup is being planned, their approval will be greatly reduced. I don't remember how you check advancing coup progress, but here's the thing. This is going to go up by 1, but it's going to go away as soon as they're happy. They're currently unhappy because of this whole census suffrage thing, and that's decaying, so I'm not really worried that much about this coup. A Throne of Thorns continues to increase. We're getting 3.5 monthly progress, and that means that in another, year, in just over a year, we're going to be good to go with that. A growing split. The landowners, despite being closely associated with the Orthodox Church and the Conservative Party, object to the notion of installing autocracy. What reason is there to continue our partnership? First, you grow distant. Now there's talk of opposing the very foundations of state order itself. I request that you explain these allegations immediately, lest the next motion on the floor be my resignation. Claiming good intentions can sway even the purest soul. Weaker landowners, but angrier, whose progress will retreat by 15%, or their love is unnecessary, their compliance is all that matters. Stronger and happier landowners. I'm going to do the first one. That's going to reduce the coup's progress, and that's going to put it at 0%, and that might cause it to fail. So that completely depletes the bar. Let's see if that breaks the coup attempt. Coup attempt fizzles out. The conspiracy against Serb democracy has lost all momentum among the Orthodox Church. The plan to institute autocracy has been abandoned. The trouble with you, Jovanovic, is that just because you have succeeded in inducing a handful of half-wits to disfigure the Belgrade scene by going about it in black shorts, you think you are someone. You hear them shouting, "Hail, Jovanovic," and you imagine that it is the voice of the people. That is where you make your bloomer. What the voice of the people is saying is, look at that frightful ass Jovanovic swanking about in footer bags. Do you ever, in your puff, see such a perfect perisher? Democracy is saved. Armed forces, rural folk, petite bourgeoisie, and landowners happier. Orthodox Church leader. Huzzah! Well, that was an easier coup to defeat than I thought. I hope all our coups are that easy to defeat. Dang. Nailed it. So, obviously constructing these universities is going to be of critical importance to our long-term strategy. There's a part of me that wants to increase the barracks right away, because that will be good for me long-term. And it'll give me more prestige, for one thing. I've only got 23 points of prestige, and only 3 of it's from armory power projection. But, hey, there's General Staff. Wonderful. Now, unfortunately, at present... Oh, right. Gotta go for these higher... Ooh, actually... Someone is building glassworks in Serbian East Serbia, so I'm actually going to cancel the ones in the government queue, because I won't need any more. Now, what was I doing? I was looking into military stuff. Right. I don't actually have the ability to produce the necessary materials to produce the fertilizer that I need for the explosives, for the munitions. So that's going to be a whole process. But once it's done, I'll have a real. I'll have the ability to field a real army, and that'll be really, really important. Resource boom. Raw goods in western Serbia are reporting a small spike in goods production at our logging camps, which has led to an extra stockpile being available in the state, and there is now potential to reinvest it back into the state. Of course, you should invest this boost back into the industries. Without them, we wouldn't have this boost at all. Are you mad? Without the workers, you would have no one to run your businesses. You should be rewarding them, not you. Boost our resource industries even further. 10% extra throughput bonus for mines, oil extractors, logging, fishing, and whaling for 10 years. Excellent. My decree has proven useful. So, I got road maintenance and encourage resource industry. I'm actually going to throw road maintenance into eastern Serbia as well. And that is going to make that area easier to build in. And that's going to make the investment pool more efficient. And that'll be nice. Cash flow is doing a little rough. Egypt left the Davlet Eel, as did Hejaz. Okay, so Egypt has acquired formal independence. I think that's what that means. They've won their war, and now there's formal independence. It's good to have lead mines because now I'll have ammunition, a good place for ammunition production, which I'll be able to do as soon as I've got intensive agriculture. And it's going to take about that amount of time to get these industries built. Cash flow is doing a little better. That's good. And I should now, with my second level of university built, fully employed. Are we genuinely only producing one innovation per level? That sucks. No. Gotta be 2 innovation per level, right? Higher learning. The prince himself has officially opened the university in western Serbia. Academia is beginning to flourish in Serbia. Philosophy is the highest calling of mankind. Through philosophy, we can come to understand the very foundations of metaphysics, the nature of the divine and the essence of virtue. It stands to reason, then, that only the most enlightened of wisdom seekers are fit to hold power. Society should be ruled by philosopher kings. Extra university throughput, increased political strength of academics. Man, that's brutal. I thought we were getting 2 per level, but actually we're only getting 2 in entirety, with a little bit of extra from the throughput modifier. Oh, man. How much am I paying for these universities? Let me ask that. Goods for government buildings, 400 a week for wages, and 400 for paper. I'm investing significant expenditures, which is not ideal. I'm spending quite a bit on welfare, but them's the breaks. We got a potato famine happening. With that having been said, we're making really good progress on the Throne of Thorns. In fact, we're nearly finished with that. And if we can sugar here to stay, then that will give us some really nice bonuses. Again, I know these universities seem like they're an absolutely unbelievable expense, but I gotta get this innovation. Innovation is so critical at this stage of the game. I've just gotta get it. There's no way around it. There's definitely a part of me that wants to try to grab. France has got a glorious. Wait, French Republic. Haha. Turns out legitimism didn't. Turns out they didn't have any use for legitimism after all. Liberty Desire is still going up, which is rock solid. Now, do I want to put the universities ahead of the armed forces stuff? I think I do. Sorry, do I want to put the barracks ahead of the arms industries? And I think the answer is I do. And I think that's a sensible thing to do because I've got the ability. I also don't think I'm getting as much out of the state construction efficiency as I would get from higher law enforcement. So let's increase law enforcement just by a little. Actually, let's only increase it to level 3. I don't think I need it above 3. My states are not in any kind of turmoil. So with this increase, and these will get done in 27 weeks, and then we'll start building this other armed forces stuff. We're still at 34 months with the intensive agriculture, but with the new university that we built, we're getting 3.6. We're getting even more innovation out of Western Serbia. And once again, for the long term, that's going to be really, really critical for our overall strategy. Our relations with Austria are almost up to full. We're maxed out in relations with Prussia as well. So once our barracks are finished, we'll see if I can get that alliance with Russia. And if I can, then maybe it'll be time to launch a play for independence from the Ottomans. If I can do that, I'll try to grab Eastern Serbia and Ottoman Western Serbia, and maybe, if I've got the maneuvers, I'll also take Montenegro so that I can grab that state. And then we'll really be in business. Then we'll be doing really, really well. Assuming I can get the Russians to do the lion's share of the heavy lifting of this war, which I'm hoping that I can. Because I think I'll be able to pull them in despite their truce. Oh my goodness, a Polish uprising. Based. Wow, look at that Polish uprising. He will, yeah, brother. Oh, man. Oh, I want to be involved so bad. Here to stay. One by one, the lackeys of the house of Karageorgievich have betrayed them to their path on their path to a terrible fate. All have seen the indisputable. Serbia belongs to the house of Obrenović. Is this how you treat your saviors? Panic and desperation echoed throughout the hall. My father led this country to freedom while you were all hoarding riches. You will never understand what it means to carry the blood of a hero. Loyal hounds were awaiting judgment. Never. You shall share the fate of your father. Alexander Karageorgievich dies. Miloš Obrenović gains the trait ruthless. He's a little bit of extra authority. And we get no more feud for 10 years. Okay. 25% bureaucracy, 10% authority. 2 interest group approval, 10 legitimacy, and minus 10% inactive time. Do not ever set foot on Serbian soil. Miloš Obrenović gains the trait meticulous, extra bureaucracy, and increased institution change spread. Same other effects. And Karageorgievich is exiled. Or mercy is a gift given only to true leaders. Miloš Obrenović gains the trait honorable, extra popularity, and increased attraction of interest groups in the government. But he's not an interest group leader, he's the king. And the same other modifiers. I'm gonna get honorable. Extra popularity for the ruler is very good. It actually translates to more authority overall, which is nice. So what can I do in terms of other stuff? I would love to get education and healthcare, but at the same time, I don't want to. National Guard would make everyone happy in the Home Affairs Department, but it's ultimately not as good as, well, actually, the extra mobilization capacity, the extra conscription rate is significant. Let's do a National Guard. We're going to need it. We're going to need it for our National Militia. Diplomatic ties with the Polish uprising. The Austrians and the Prussians will take any opportunity to shoot at each other, unless, of course, they have the option to spend time shooting at the Poles, in which case they will, which is just the way things are. Defamatory article. A newspaper called the Eastern Serbia Standard has printed a bigoted article about the Romanian people living there. We can suppress the article, or we can let it be released. He threw the tabloid across the table with a huff. Absolutely vile lies, the lot of it. Alas, that won't matter to those who read it. They'll gobble it right up. He eyed the shocked maid's face, then righted himself. Of course they'd believe it. He hadn't given them proof to the contrary. Suppress it for reduced authority, or ignore it for -1 standard of living for Romanians in eastern Serbia. I think I gotta suppress it. -1 standard of living in the early games of a lot. How many Romanians are living in eastern Serbia? 72k. Okay, quite a few. Quite a few. Yeah, we gotta suppress it. I know the brutal calculus of demographics being what it is not something I relish taking part in, but it simply is a matter which nations must concern themselves with. Let's take a look at what the private sector is producing. Textile mills. Oh, that's also really good. I can cut this set of textile mills out of the queue then. That's wonderful. Oh, I love that. Orthodox Church are no longer powerful. Oh, that's also exciting. Wonderful. Unfortunately, we're getting the increase of the size of the barracks is significantly impacting our finances. However, law progress to drafting. Wonderful. This will provide us with having these buildings built will allow us to benefit from the construction of those barracks, and that will put us in a much better spot. It hasn't produced much prestige, sadly. But you know, perhaps in the future, perhaps once we've got our skirmish infantry, it'll be more. Enacting National Guard will also allow us to increase our overall production of troops, which will make us better in a fight. And, yeah. Okay, so here's the Start Supporting Separatism button. And this will become available once we've invented nationalism, which we've got in the queue. We've got it after minting, a stock exchange. And again, the stock exchange is going to spread to us. Actually, the stock exchange is almost finished. And that'll be the end of the tier 1s in society, and that'll be nice. So we're not too far away, but we got to get the Atmo pump engine. Once again, to review our overall plan. Popular playwriting versus reform. In the midst of the debate surrounding National Guard, one of the country's leading playwrights, strongly associated with the armed forces, has staged a widely acclaimed play, whose politically laden theme makes no secret of the author's desire for the law to be passed. The man's viewpoints may be somewhat partisan, but sir, you cannot argue with his prose. National Guard will be on everyone's lips now, extra enactment success chance. This sure puts the armed forces in a good light, stronger armed forces, or let's ensure the play gets a wider international audience, extra prestige. I'm just going to say it puts the armed forces in a good light. It's going to make the armed forces stronger, and that is very good for our overall strategy. Ooh, I don't love this number. I may have gone too far, but hopefully getting these arms industries and artillery foundries built will help me to benefit long term. I wonder why we're still seeing the shadows of the various forces on the table, because that's a little bit odd. I think that might be a visual glitch, a bug, if you will. Influence is rock solid. Let's start. Is there anyone else to improve relations with? Let's improve relations with the two Sicilies. There's stock exchange. Excellent. Ooh, this unlocks protectionism. It's interesting. That's a place we could go. That would be good for our long-term strategy. Rousing speech captivates the public. This afternoon, Grigoria Vozarevich, leader of the petite bourgeoisie, delivered a fiery speech advocating for the enactment of National Guard. Making an appearance before the public in Belgrade's main square, Grigoria Vozarevich's powerful rhetoric left even his most embittered political opponents impressed. Excerpts from the speech are already being circulated across Serbia, fanning the fires of an already roaring debate. It should ease the path to reform greatly, 15% enactment chance, or performances like these reflect well on Grigory Vozarevich and his cause. 10% enactment success chance, 25 popularity, 5% stronger petite bourgeoisie. I'm going to do the second one. It's not as much enactment chance, but it does make our petite bourgeoisie stronger. Alright, so I'm now paying a significant amount for the goods from military buildings and for military wages. The lead mine produced by the lead mine is productive. It's trying to hire. It's simply having a hard time due to... Okay. But now it's profitable, so now it'll start hiring. The price of tools is pretty significant. I should increase the size of the tooling industry. Ah, the private sector is already doing it. Wonderful. That's actually really, really good. I'm very pleased. Glad I built all that construction. Relations with the Ottomans are still going up. I don't love it. I don't love it. But our independence is high. The National Guard is going to a vote, which is wonderful. The anti-monarchist Congress has been formed by the United States of America. And what manner of power block is that? Just for my own edification. Now here it is. They are an ideological union. That's exciting. Artillery shortage in the Ottoman Empire. You know I'm building that up. A Croatian radical revolt in Croatia. How interesting. Ooh. Austria's flag has changed. Austria has become Austria. They've gone to census suffrage. Interesting. They've decided to do big democracy. Hey, Austria, if I helped you out... Oh, right. I can only make demands of Croatia. Well, that's a shame. Cry and shame. I've consumed my entire cash reserve. Building up the army was smart. I maintained that, but... Screw frigate unlocked. Excellent. Oh, there's a radical revolt brewing in Hungary as well. Things are getting bad in Austria. Maybe we'll see some sort of entertaining display. There's National Guard. So, it does increase our overall maximum mobilizability. Ah, wonderful. Easier times. The waves of crop disease that racked the European continent throughout the hungry 40s have subsided. Whilst the blighted fields may never again be able to host the affected variety of potatoes, other crops are expected to make a full recovery. Did you hear? They're selling a new kind of potato seed, one that isn't blighted, or so they say. The man leaning on the other side of the fence raised an eyebrow. About time. Too late even. I had to have my kids eating hay to make it through the winter. Now, you got off easy. The family down the road lost theirs. Too damn late indeed. Thank goodness. Recovering agricultural recovery, extra agricultural throughput. Or can we be certain it's over? Reduced authority, extra trade advantage for imports. I don't need trade advantage for imports. I'm just going to say thank goodness and increase my agriculture. So this is going to be really good. This is going to help out my economy, which is good because I've overproduced militarily, and that's making my economy not ideal. And hopefully, as I get these arms industries built up, I'll be in a good spot. Now, I don't have the ability to increase home affairs too high, but I can raise a few more conscripts in my force. So currently I'm set at 1052. Let's increase artillery by 1. Cavalry by 1. And infantry by 1. Let's increase infantry by 2. So this is 12, 6, 3. We'll go to 12, 7, 3. A 12-7-3 pattern is reasonable. That'll allow us to have a very respectable armed force, which will in turn give us the ability to solve problems diplomatically. A scandal in western Serbia. Police have shut down a notorious male brothel. The arrested proprietor has revealed that Grigorij Vozarevich is part of his clientele, and this information is leaking to the press. An indescribably loathsome scandal has struck western Serbia. The captured boys were made to confess, and the Evening Post reports that another sensation about this affair will soon burst. 22 men implicated, blue bloods and others, have fled from Serbia. Grigorij Vozarevich must resign. He resigns from political life. We'll try to cover up the story. So he is a moderate, but he's very well loved. Let's have him resign and see who that puts in control of the petite bourgeoisie. The play for power. Vuk Stefanovic Karadzic, leader of the intelligentsia. I'm hoping I'm doing okay with that pronunciation. Vuk Stefanovic Karadzic, leader of the intelligentsia, has made a remarkable play for power in the capital in order to secure a spot for the intelligentsia within the government. However, it's not entirely clear if they should be rewarded for their novel tactics. Are they even effective as an interest group? They are. Well, that's interesting. There's only one light in the street that leads to the intelligentsia's headquarters. There's also only one light on inside. There, Vuk Stefanovic Karadzic relaxes among the sumptuous mahogany furniture and velvet cushions. The lamp is identical to those that have been sent from the east. The ends justify the means, and our means are very, very justified. It's difficult not to believe him when he offers an inviting seat by his side. Vuk Stefanovic Karadzic will be recognized for this. Karadzic, or not all is fair in love and war. The first option gives the intelligentsia 25% increased political strength. The second, minus 25% political strength and reduced interest group approval. I'm going to go with the first one. Now what is this? This is a radical revolt in Transylvania. My, everything's going buck wild in the Ottoman Empire, or in the Austrian Empire. Golly. Well, them's the breaks. Let's see. I'm hoping that getting these arms industries built, because arms in our customs union are pretty expensive. Should have built the artillery first, but them's the breaks. I'll get it done next, and that'll hopefully be useful. Rudolf Brill. Who is you? Who are you? You're a Luddite aligned with the rural folk. Support independence in the December Convention invalidated. Egypt must be a minor power, share the same overlord. Egypt, have you become insignificant? You have. Well, that's a tragedy. That's going to goof up my independence desire, my liberty desire, so I need to deal with that. Oh, no. No, it won't. Never mind. We're good to go. Oh, no, it is going down. All right, so I need to be conscientious about this. I still have that lobby opportunity. My army power projection should be higher. My army power projection is higher now, but only by a tiny amount. Russia. Hey, let's talk about an alliance. They still don't want it because of my low power projection. What if I... There are a bunch of things I can't get. What if I commit to... I can't go to protectionism. Tragic. Alright. Leopold Dietz, exiled from Austria. A protectionist aligned with the intelligentsia. Interesting. Alright, well, anyway, tragic. One day I'll be able to get If I take the fight to the Ottomans now... Nope. I don't want that. How do I... I need 90 liberty desire to use the independence war goal. Well, that's not ideal. Okay, I need to get more... I need to get support for independence from someone. Why does nobody want to support my independence? This is a tragedy. Ottoman Empire too strong. Devs, please nerf. I mean, they'll get their nerf in time, but it'll be a bit. All right, so we are taking loans now. We are starting to pay a very, very small amount of interest. Building an artillery foundry will be very, very useful. We got another year working on intensive agriculture. This artillery foundry will take up most of that time. Once that how is Hungary in a war with Prussia? Did Prussia seize this territory from Austria during the whole Poland affair? I think they did. That's bananas. Interesting situation. Don't worry, Ottomans. I'm coming to your rescue with my cannons. There's gonna be cannons. There's gonna be cannons, and Serbia will produce them. All will be valid. Billions must purchase Serbian cannons. Alright. So, legislative agenda. Let's see what else we can get done. I can't go to protectionism, tragically. Not a lot of other good stuff I can do from here. When's my next election? Next election is in 45. Oh, so we're actually about to head into an election cycle. I will probably do the election and then call the episode. Maybe a solid 3 hours. If I can get to a solid 3 hours, I may. Otherwise, I'll call the episode after the election. We're at about 2.5 hours now, so that should be fine. GDP growth is doing just fine. I really wish universities weren't so frickin' cripplingly expensive, but they are. That is simply the way of it, and I need to focus on building up the economy. That having been said, the investment pool has done a good job of increasing the size of the economy, and in fact, they might actually be able to do more. If I capacity. Ooh, mechanical tools! Hell yes! Oh, that's so good. That's wonderful. So how can we do I have my own sulfur production? Let's ask that before I go buck wild over here. I do not. So this sulfite piping is a temporary situation. Is the Ottoman Empire producing any steel? No. Oh my goodness, I'm importing all the Hey, we got ourselves a liberal party. Is this a mistake? Am I causing a problem for myself here? I think the answer may be maybe. Do I have trade centers? I think I need to build trade centers. Uh-oh. The land of want. Vuk Stefanovich Karadzic, leader of the intelligentsia, has been loudly accusing the Conservative Party of misrule, given the country's low standard of living, claiming that only the Liberal Party has the willpower to set things right. On my way here today, I witnessed scenes so bleak they almost defied description. I saw once venerable soldiers growling for scraps in the mud. I saw desperate families crammed together on dusty tenement streets. I saw malnutrition, poverty, and despair. Fellow citizens, this is the legacy of the Conservative Party. Why are we to blame? Have they tried being less poor, reduce momentum for the Conservative Party, extra momentum to the Liberal Party, and Karadzic gains extra popularity, or just a few bad eggs in the administration, nothing more, reduce momentum, reduce government interest group approval? I'm going to go with the first one. Let's take a look at the election cycle. Okay, so the Conservative Party consists, so the armed forces have moved into the Conservative Party. The Liberal Party are now the intelligentsia and the industrialists. So that's a shame. So it would be nice to have a strong Liberal Party. Preferably one also containing the petite bourgeoisie. Let's throw this trade center up at the top of the queue after the artillery foundries, because I want to get those built. And then we'll be able to trade some, and that'll be nice. So, what's with these paper mills? Okay, alright. We're producing a sufficiency of sulfur for that to work. Or bringing in from abroad. Let's take a look. Let's take a look in the market. No, we're producing our own. Alright, beautiful. We're mostly producing our own. So, that means that those will be able to do that, and I won't need to build that trade center. I should build it eventually, but them's the breaks. Let's go to slaughterhouses method for our livestock ranches. That'll allow us to produce more meat. And do we have hardwood in the thing? We do. So I'm going to set our furniture manufactories to producing luxury furniture as well, and that'll be nice. Now I think once I've finished these artillery foundries, I'm going to halt government construction and allow the investment pool to drain, because I think that will make the investment pool... I think that'll be just fine. Private sector is building some useful things. The popularity contest. The eyes of the electorate have turned to the candidates that seek to acquire a position at the head of the government. As the election approaches, voters debate who would provide the best leadership for Serbia. I quite like Stefanovic, mused one of the men at the bar. I couldn't say what it is I agree with him on, but I think he has a good head on his shoulders. His neighbor spoke up. Enough to look past the company he keeps? Well, why not? God knows he could say the same of any of us. No one's better to handle a fool than his friend. Stefanovic is the man of the hour, or a term of Vuk Stefanovic Karadzic is what the country needs. The first one's extra momentum for the Conservative Party, and he gets more popular. The second one is extra momentum for the Liberal Party. I'm going to do the second one. I'm going to throw all that momentum in the way of the Liberals. The Conservatives are still going to take 73% of the vote, but that'll be just fine. Are the Ottomans in a war? Who are they in a war with? The Spanish. Interesting. Who deserves the credit? Recent investments in Serbia and East Serbia toward our livestock ranches have brought into question who should get the credit for the boosted investment. Opinions seem to be split. To where the credit lies is the question most wondered. To the owners of the field and the organizers of the harvest, or to the ordinary people who work the fields day and night, whose sweat and blood water the fields? The landowners deserve the credit, stronger landowners. The farmers deserve the credit, stronger rural folk. Find someone else to credit. Landowners and rural folk get mad. Orthodox Church gets extra attraction. All right, we'll strengthen the farmers. Again, I don't want the landowners to be too strong here, because they're forming a large conservative bloc, and that's potentially causing a problem. What are the Ottomans and Spain fighting about? The Spanish want Tunisia. The Ottomans want to change the regime of the Philippines. It's a good time, but I don't know if the Spanish can really take the Ottomans. The Ottomans are only a major power now. Does that mean someone might be willing to support my independence? Perhaps someone might support my independence? Perhaps someone in Austria might support my independence. Really? Even in Austria? Dang. Tragedy. Absolute tragedy. Alright, so 11 more weeks until intensive agriculture. That's going to lead to some changes. I'm going to do some major industrializing. Cash flow is getting really good. I'm just trying to wipe out that debt and get our interest going away and get us a little bit. And there's the election. I'm not going to change the shape of the body politic. I could pull the rural folk in, but I don't wish to. I suppose I could simply put the liberals in charge. That would put me in an unacceptable government, but it would allow me to get up to all sorts of nonsense. With that having been said, I'm going to stay where we are for the moment. I think that's preferable. And we'll see what the options become as time goes by. So, developing a nice gold reserve, closing in on intensive agriculture, that'll be nice. So I think next on the agenda is, once I've got intensive agriculture researched, I need to get myself an explosives plant and a fertilizer plant. And that will be how we'll facilitate the increase of our economy and prepare ourselves for a war with the Ottoman Empire, which feels inevitable at this stage. Not feels inevitable, is inevitable. It's inevitable at this stage because we're Serbia and we're going to form Yugoslavia. And that's simply the way things are. So, from here, first of all, let's fix up our production methods. I can finally start doing soil enriching farming. I can finally start doing increased wool gathering. That's going to produce some fertilizer for me at baseline. I have the ability to increase my barracks production methods. I'm going to queue in a fertilizer plant and an explosives factory, and then finally, wait. If I do this all in eastern Serbia, I can take advantage of the fact that there's lead already here. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. So we'll do a fertilizer plant, an explosives factory. There's plenty of workers available. And then we'll make ourselves, finally... I didn't research percussion cap yet. Okay, circle back. Happily, the percussion cap is already spreading to us. So it'll only be 14 to 20 months until that's done. Then we'll go with the Atmo pump engine. Then we'll go to nationalism and dialectics. And I got central banking spreading in society, which is not bad, but not great. Cash flow is positive, though, which is wonderful. Whew, what an episode. It has been a rock-solid session. I've made some really good progress. I haven't fought in a war yet, but I've just been growing my internal strength. I've moved up 6 positions in the global prestige rankings, so I'm feeling reasonably confident. Where's my next growth point? If I can exceed Denmark and Chile, if I can get above 30, I can get to the 28 position. I can get to the 30 position, and that'll be nice. The next stop will be overcoming Mexico. Well, my military strength is pretty good and getting better, and that's the important part, right? Once I've got these munitions plants built, I'll be doing really, really well in terms of overall military strength, and I'll be in a position to challenge the Ottomans and really get my independence and be able to start taking territory here in southern Europe. And then once I research nationalism, we'll be in a whole other place where there's a lot more interesting going on. So, that is going to be it for this episode, my nerds. I have had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I will see you on the other side.